Are you able to get on?
Virtual meeting at the Rotary Club of Georgetown. We'll do one thing quick here. There we go. This is our first virtual meeting, and I just thank everyone for joining us. I encourage you to, during this next about 20 minutes we have before the regular meeting starts, take a moment just like you would do if you were coming to our Rotary Club meeting, and pick up your telephone this time, though, because you want to just reach out by phone and talk to your other fellow Rotarians, catch up with them, see how their life's been happening with this crazy, stay at home, stay safe order that we're operating under right now. Encourage each other and check on each other's families and just what's going on in their life, just like you would do if we were at a meeting. So we'll continue to do that just like we normally would. And then at 12:15, we'll kick off with our regular portion of our meeting with announcements and stuff. And then we have a great speaker, Ron Swain, who will be talking about courageous conversations and how they affect children. They're really making a difference in children's lives. So I'm going to give you the opportunity now. We'll sign off here for just a few minutes and then come back on and just make the same announcement again. But I encourage everyone who's on and participating to call and talk to friends of yours who are Rotarians and check on see what's going on in their life, just like you would if you were coming to a regular meeting. Those who've dialed in, feel free, because you're already on your telephone, to connect. There's probably another half a dozen other folks there on phone also. You're welcome to connect with them, and I'm going to go ahead and unmute all of y'all so you can do that. So Rob, go ahead and disconnect us right now from the YouTube, and we'll go back to internal on the Zoom. Okay, for all those who are joining now, I thank you so much for joining into the first virtual meeting of the Rotary Club of Georgetown. And we are live, and we are in the normal time period of our Rotary Club where we normally get together with each other and socialize. So I highly encourage you while we're here to take that time to call. You're right now you're watching a YouTube video, which is fantastic.
Yep.
Just take this time to pick up your phone and call and connect with other Rotarians. They're doing the same thing you're doing right now, and they'd love to hear from you, just like you would when you normally meet together at our club meeting.
I can't either.
Take that time to reach out to them, talk with them, fellowship with them,
So
and encourage them to be a part of what's going on. We will be back on in about 15 minutes with right at 12:15. We'll kick off our meeting like we normally do. So thank you so much for joining us, and I'm going to go back to chatting with the folks that are connected through Zoom.
I mean, I see him, but I can't hear him.
Welcome everyone to the Rotary Club of Georgetown. In about 5 minutes, we'll get started with our regular meeting. We still got about 5 more minutes for opportunity for people to share with each other. So take a moment to pick up your telephone and call another Rotarian. Check and see how they're doing. Ask them how their week's been going. Ask them how their opportunity to stay at home and how it's affecting both their personal life and their work life, this coronavirus and all that's going on with that.
I've had to hire a divorce
5 minutes. I'll be
attorney.
back at 12:15 to get started with our regular meeting. Thank you so very much.
Well, I was able to dial in and at least I can.
Okay, I'm back on. Everybody on YouTube, thank you so much. I hope you've been taking this time, as the announcement said there, to call other Rotarians. That's what we've been doing. I know I've noticed several questions of why didn't we get a link to the Zoom? Well, if we tried to have everybody sharing on Zoom, we would have nothing but total chaos. So we just, those who are on Zoom, or those who could only dial up, or those who were actually going to have an active speaking part in our program, so I had them come in on Zoom. Everybody else is actually going to be sitting is on the YouTube live, and as the announcement said before, that the opportunity then is during this first 30 minutes, which we just finishing up now. The opportunity then is for everybody to make a phone call, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Call the Rotarians that you would normally be talking to. You know, when we get together at the beginning of our meetings, we're always talking to other people, and that's our social 30 minutes or so at the beginning of the meeting. So we set up this program here so that we could do that also. So it doesn't work if everybody is on Zoom, because then everyone is talking over each other and we don't really get to share much. But there's actually 19 people now on Zoom. So you know, that's as much as we really want to put on there. If at all possible, we want to keep people, as many as possible, staying on YouTube live, and then picking up their phone and calling and talking to other Rotarians during this time frame. Now, for the remainder of the meeting, we will be on YouTube live, going all the way through that process. So we won't I won't be jumping back and forth anymore. Those that are on Zoom will also have the same information, because YouTube live is actually just a projection of what is happening on Zoom. Okay, so we're going to start off our program, and we'll just go ahead and ring the gavel just like we always do. I don't know if y'all heard that, but hopefully it worked. And thanks to Dennis for making that work for us, and he also brought me the banner. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to unmute Gordon Willoughby and allow Gordon. Gordon, you are now unmuted. So if you can go ahead and bring us with our invocation.
Okay, thank you, George. Everybody join me in prayer. Father God, we thank you for this wonderful day that you have made. We are thankful for your covering and guidance on our lives. Thank you for giving us all the opportunity to meet as friends and Rotarians. Even though it's not in person, we are still very grateful to have an opportunity to get together today. Father God, please keep us safe and from any harm, both physical, financial, or spiritual, during this time of great uncertainty. I declare the words of David in Psalms 91 over everyone here today. David wrote, "Because God's your refuge, the high God, your very own home. Evil can't get close to you. Harm can't get through the door." Bless our fellowship today and time together. Father God, it's in your Son I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Gordon. And now, if this works good as far as screen sharing, it'll pop up here in just a second. Karen, there should be an American flag popping up, but we have a little bit of a time delay between them. And then Karen will actually, then lead us in our pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Karen. And now I got to find Nathan's phone number real quick. There we go. Nathan, you are now unmuted. Thank you so much. If you go ahead and go on with the milestones.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Milestones today. We have Tim Harris's birthday is today, March 27th. Happy birthday, Tim. Jerry Barry Moston is April 1st. Spouse birthdays, John Tyler's wife, Dee Dee, is March 29th. Michelle Marshall's husband, Justin, is April 3rd. We don't have any member anniversaries today, but club anniversaries. Russ Phillips is March 27th, 17 years. Mike Sweeney, March 31st, 3 years. Salute.
Thank you so very much. Now let's see if I can actually get my slide program to work right here. See if everything, well, it didn't quite happen what I wanted, but let's see what happens here. not changing slides very quickly. So I'm going to actually go back to a different mode to change the slides. Welcome to everyone to our Rotary Club. Just finished our milestones. We have several guests here with us today, and these are guests that are possible Rotarians. I want to welcome them. I don't have their names in front of me, but otherwise I'd read them off. But welcome them also to our club. Dennis, let me unmute you if I can do that real quickly. And there we go. Dennis, you're unmuted. What do you have for us from a Sergeant at Arms perspective?
Well, I trust everybody in their hidden locations is still wearing their pin. The only other thing I'd urge is you to go to my GoFundMe page, as with this close proximity to my wife for so long, I needed a divorce attorney. Other than that, everything's fine.
Dennis, your wife wouldn't give up on you that quick. All righty. George Oliver, membership.
Oh, getting some echo here.
Let's see, I got the.
But I can go ahead and do this anyway. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay, we'll just try to do this. I'm getting a lot of echo back, but as I said earlier, we have, as a part of our initiative of the Family of Rotary, that we are going to have volunteers from our club reaching out to various members that will be on a call list. And so if you are a recipient of that call this coming week, please know what it is and why they are calling. We feel that at this time, it's imperative that we as Rotarians keep in touch with each other, since we don't have the opportunity to meet in person. And so this is a way to compensate for that, and for us to stay in touch and keep tabs on each other, make sure that if somebody has a special need or needs the efforts of volunteers to step in and be of assistance, that we are able to match up the volunteers to the need. So you, if you're not a volunteer, you will be getting a call from one of our volunteers this week. So just know that that's coming. And that's my membership for this week.
Thank you, George. Thank you very, very much. Now, Stephen Benold has another commitment right now, or he's not, or he may be on, but he wasn't able to prepare real good information. As you know, Stephen always wants to put out very accurate information. So on our future meetings, he is going to have a moment here in each one of the meetings to kind of give us an update on what's going on. The slide that'll pop up here in a second when the delay gets past us will basically remind us of the one of the very important things is to wash hands, and that the thing that's constantly put out to all of us are wash our hands, keep our hands clean, keep them away from our face, and maintain social distancing. You know, so we're staying at home to do that. We're doing everything possible to do that. If you're out in the public, be sure to stay safe. Be sure to stay away from other folks that may cause a challenge for you. And we certainly appreciate all that you're doing in that area, because we want everyone safe and sound. Early Act first night, well, with school being canceled, we won't have the one on April 3rd. We didn't have the one today. It's possible. We don't know for certain what's going to happen with the one on April 30th. But if it is there, we definitely want to try and be there to attend and make a difference. So I do much appreciate if y'all are able, when that does occur, to be able to do that. So Pearl Elementary on April 30th, the slide will pop up here in a minute. Just like I said, it does take a little bit of time for some reason to catch up there. There we go. So that finally caught up there for that slide. Danny Swafford is not able to be on. He asked me to give you a little bit of information, update on two different things. One being RILA, and the other one being so RILA is still on as long as the world is in better shape then than it is right now on the 30th of June. So if you're scheduled for that, if you haven't done all the different things necessary as far as getting yourself the background checks and all that. Be sure to continue with that process, and that will be taken care of. We're still very much hoping to be able to provide that dinner and to have that camp for everybody. So a very, very important thing to have. Look forward to having that work. The next opportunity, the next thing that he wanted me to talk about after Ryla is the scholarships. So just to give you an update on that, Danny received 43 applications. 43 when we had at the beginning, literally a month ago, we had 2. So it's because of the effort of everyone in this club. Everyone went out there on social media and did all kinds of great things and made that happen. And oh my gosh, we really, really appreciate all that you've done in that area. And so will the kids, because that makes a big, big difference in their lives and what's been happening there for them. So they're very excited about that. And they're going through the application process. They've scanned everything in. On Monday, they should be able to go through all those applications for their first time, first cut through it, and see how that goes and make sure everything works in that area. So that's a really, really great opportunity. All right, our next slide, next thing is ramp build. We did build a ramp this month. Thank you so much for everyone who came out there. March ramp build was a great success. The young lady who the ramp was built for was just all smiles as she was wheeled up and down the ramp in her wheelchair. Before then, that they had a ramp that literally it took two very strong people to get her up and down because it was just way too steep. And this is one that her mom was able to easily wheel her up and down, and everything has worked out really well there. Rob, just for your note that the slides are not changing at all that I can tell, but that's okay. We're going to continue forward. I talked to Larry Baird this morning concerning new ramp builds as they come up. Currently, they're delayed. Hopefully, they're going to be able to still do 1 or 2 near the end of the month. Again, that'll be for those who are very comfortable with that. We're probably going to limit our group of people to about 6. So we can stay separated from each other and still work together to make a big difference in people's lives. A couple things that have been postponed and changed. The golf tournament. Golf tournament obviously is not going to take place next Friday on April 3rd. Most people already know that, but I just want to make sure that that is put out. It will possibly be postponed. Nathan is working on that. Jeff is working on that. So when they have an update, they will give it to us. But right now, it is not going to happen on Friday the 3rd. And they have already reached out to all those who were different participants in it and to make sure they knew what was going on. Also, some things that have changed, different things that have changed in the schedule that we had before. We're going to continue these virtual meetings probably for at least the next 3 weeks and maybe longer, depending. And we'll maybe longer, depending. Sorry about that. To turn my phone volume down. The things that have definitely been postponed. The district assembly that was supposed to take place on April 18th will not. It'll be postponed to a different time. That hasn't been scheduled yet. The celebration of clubs that was May 1st through 3rd has also been postponed and will possibly occur in the fall. We don't have a specific time on that either. So we're right on schedule, moving right along. The next person up is going to be Dr. Ron Swain, and he's going to come to you live, so we're not going to worry about sharing. That's not working as well as we'd like it to. So Dr. Swain, you are now live.
Thank you, George. You have unmuted me, I see.
Yes, sir.
Great. Well, good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Although I can't see you, I feel your presence. And even though we are practicing social distance, this medium allows us to continue our work as Rotarians, putting service above self. I'd like to thank George for his leadership over the last couple of weeks. We've been meeting virtually with members of the board to figure out how we kind of move forward with our commitment to attendance at our meetings. And certainly this is one way to keep our attendance up and to stay in touch. My talk this afternoon is really kind of an update on Courageous Conversations, Georgetown, which we started back in 2014. The idea for Courageous Conversations was actually stimulated by the death of Michael Brown over in Ferguson, Missouri. And the question that we raised with leaders of several faith communities here in Georgetown is whether it is possible to have respectful civil dialogue about the difficult issue of race. And we've had several conversations over these years looking at various issues in our community, whether it's affordable housing or living wage, and also education of our children. And so this year, 2020, the Courageous Conversations core team decided to focus on our children. And the theme that we developed actually comes from a Maasai African tribe greeting, which is, "How are the children? Are all the children well?" And so that is the topic for today's presentation. Several years ago, fellow Rotarian and former Georgetown Rotary Club president and former district governor, Dr. Gene Davenport, a good friend of mine and several of us, first introduced me to this greeting from the Maasai tribe, Kasserine Ngera, "How are the children?" But before answering this question, I want to set the stage for some of the issues that we have discovered over these past several months. The question is, who are the children and what are they experiencing? To begin this talk, I'd like to draw upon the Center for Disease Control description of what they call adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. The Center for Disease Control provides some insights. And first of all, they talk about what are the adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. These are potentially traumatic events that occur in childhood between the ages of 0 and 17. For example, children experiencing violence or abuse, or children witnessing violence in their home or in their community, or children having a family member attempt or die by suicide. Also included are aspects of the child's environment that can undermine the sense of safety, stability, and bonding, such as growing up in a household with substance misuse, or a household with mental health problems, or instability due to parental separation or household members being incarcerated. ACEs are linked to several chronic health problems, mental illness, and substance misuse, even in adulthood. ACEs can also negatively impact education and job opportunities. However, the CDC believes that ACEs can be prevented. How big is this problem? While ACEs are common, about 61% of adults surveyed across 25 states reported that they had experienced at least one type of ACE, and nearly 1 in 6 reported that they had experienced 4 or more types of ACEs. Preventing ACEs could potentially reduce a large number of health conditions that we experience. For example, up to 1.9 million cases of heart disease and 21 million cases of depression could have been potentially avoided by preventing ACEs. Some children are at greater risk than others. Women and several racial ethnic minority groups are at greater risk for having experienced 4 or more ACEs. And these ACEs are costly. The economic and social cost of families, communities, and society total hundreds of billions of dollars each year. And what are the consequences? ACEs can have lasting negative effects on health, well-being, and opportunity. These experiences can increase the risk of injury, of sexually transmitted infections, of maternal and child health problems, teen pregnancy, involvement in sex trafficking, and a wide range of chronic diseases and leading causes of death, such as cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and suicide. ACEs and associated conditions, such as living in under-resourced or racially segregated neighborhoods, frequent moving, and experiencing food insecurity can cause toxic stress. And toxic stress is defined as extended or prolonged stress. Toxic stress from ACEs can change brain development and affect such things as attention spans, decision making, learning, and response to other stresses. Children growing up with toxic stress may have difficulty forming healthy and stable relationships. They may also have unstable work histories as adults and struggle with finances, jobs, and depression throughout their lives. These effects can also be passed on to their own children. Some children may face further exposure to toxic stress from historical and ongoing traumas due to systemic racism or the impacts of poverty resulting from limited educational and economic opportunities. How can we prevent adverse childhood experiences? Creating and sustaining safe, stable, nurturing relationships and environments for all children and families can prevent ACEs and help all children reach their full potential. The CDC has produced a resource entitled Preventing Adverse Childhood Experiences, leveraging the best available evidence to help states and communities take advantage of some of the best available evidence to prevent ACEs. It features a number of strategies, and I invite you to visit, if you're interested, the CDC website to gain more insight into these technical advantages. But let me share now more closer to home information. Dr. Lorna Homasura, who recently served as a program assistant at the Georgetown Health Foundation, conducted her research at the University of Texas in Austin on incarcerated children. And she asked the primary question of those youngsters: what would have made a difference in your life? And the responses included some of the following: if someone had loved me, if someone had valued me, if someone had respected or listened to me or paid attention to me. And so we know generally about these adverse childhood experiences. And over the past few weeks here in Georgetown, we can say that we've seen evidence, and we're seeing more evidence of these ACEs. A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to participate in the Georgetown Project's Youth Summit. 50 high school youth in our community, along with 50 community leaders, gathered to consider the top 3 items or issues that were identified in a survey to high school students at Rotary, Georgetown High School, and Eastview. And the 3 top items were: 1, substance abuse, particularly now vaping. Secondly, was mental health and counseling services. And third, job readiness training and employment opportunities. As we gathered to discuss these issues, it was evident that while some of these resources are available in our community through organizations like the Boys and Girls Club, through the Georgetown Project, and even our Chamber of Commerce, many of these youngsters don't know about these resources. We have an information gap. Also, recently, I was a participant actually as a judge in the Georgetown Boys and Girls Club Leadership Award Program. And 3 or 4 of the participants who were finalists in that Leadership Award Program shared with us some of their lifehood experiences. One high school student, an African-American male, shared that he and his single mother had moved at least 5 times because of her unstable job situation and lack of income to pay rent. And so this young man, having to move at least 5 times, has earned and maintained a 3.9 GPA at Georgetown High School, active in leadership with the Boys and Girls Club, and was a finalist in this Leadership Awards program. However, this young man is uncertain about his future. Obviously, finance will be a big challenge if he is to pursue a post-secondary education. Another young man spoke of his mother, who, because of her constant smoking, has developed cancer. And he is a sophomore at Georgetown High School, a white male. And he is an athlete, very active as a baseball player. But one of his major concerns is how will he survive once his mother passes away? And he's actually accepted the reality that she will die because of her cancer. Another student raised by a relative because his mother is in the military is also trying to be a big brother to his younger brother. And yet he never knew who his father was. He has no role model. He has no one after which he can pattern his life. And yet he's trying to be a role model for his younger brother. My friends, these are ACEs. A young lady, a 9th grader, a Hispanic student at one of our middle schools, is president of one of the organizations at the Boys and Girls Club. But she, as she entered the interview room, came in very slowly, very unsure of herself, lacking self-confidence, and admitted that she was shy and that she had difficulty speaking up for herself. And she went on to describe her background and her family history. These 4 examples in our own community are examples of ACEs. And certainly the current coronavirus pandemic is increasing the stress, not only on families, but also on children. We recently, in working with fellow Rotarian Elizabeth McFarland, who's a trustee on our Georgetown School Board, discovered that about 4,000 meals were distributed over 3 days through our free and reduced lunch program. And yet, there are about 10,000 students who receive, or 10,000 meals that are provided during the regular school day. So on an average of those 3 days, about 1,700 meals were distributed or picked up. That's a big gap from 10,000 meals per day. And one of the findings is that access or lack of access, primarily because of no transportation, these youngsters aren't able to get to the meals. We know, for example, that our school district reaches out as far as some of the RV parks out east, Highway 29. And those youngsters depend on bus transportation to get to school. However, they don't have transportation this week to get to the meals. So much of what we're facing is a challenge. And so it involves all of us in this community to prepare our youngsters for what we're calling their bright, positive future. Let me close this with excerpts of an essay around this question, how are the children? I wonder how it might affect our consciousness of our children's welfare if in our culture, we took to greeting each other with this daily question, and how are the children? I wonder if we heard that question and passed it along to each other a dozen times a day, if it would begin to make a difference in the reality of how children are thought of or cared for in our communities. What might it be possible if every adult among us, parent and non-parent alike, shared responsibility for the daily care and protection of all the children in our community and in our country? I wonder if we could truly say without hesitation, all the children are well. Yes, all the children are well. What might it be like if teachers began every class by answering this question, and how are the children? If every leader had to answer that same question at the beginning of every meeting, and how are the children? Are they all well? And if every corporate executive had to answer the same question at the beginning of every workday, and how are the children? Are they well? Wouldn't it be interesting to hear their answers? What might it be like? I wonder. And before we can respond to one another, all the children are well, what actions must we take in our classrooms, in our schools, in our communities to make sure that all of our children are well? When we come out of this pandemic, and surely we will come out of this pandemic, I want us to continue to have that question before us. How is Maria? And how is Mayosha? How is Molly? How is Jaden? How is Johnny? And how is Jesus? And how are all the children in Georgetown? My fellow Rotarians, I believe that working together, we can help to make all of our children in Georgetown well. Thank you so much, and I'll be happy to entertain any questions if there are any. Thank you, George.
Ron, that was absolutely awesome. Thank you very, very much. Those on YouTube, you have the opportunity to either text them to the number that Rob put up there on the screen, or also to just type them in on comments on the screen if you have questions of Dr. Swain. Those on Zoom, I'm going to go ahead and unmute everyone. We'll see if that works. Otherwise, we may have to mute. Everybody has to not talk unless you're actually asking a question for that to work. Any questions?
Well, George, thank you so much. I don't hear, are there any questions?
I have not seen or heard any yet.
Okay.
Obviously, you have done such a great job that people are just in deep thought right now and not able to say anything.
Well, I think we gave an extra 2 minutes, so I'll be happy to sign a book that we will take over to the Annie Pearl Library virtually. I guess we'll do that.
Oh, I do have one question just popped up from Dave. Small steps individually and collectively that we can take. What are some recommended small steps individually or collectively that we can take? I'm going to mute everyone for a moment now and let you.
Well, I think we're already doing some things, and perhaps we can is sponsoring Early Act First Night, a character building program. We hear a great deal of talk in education circles these days about social and emotional well-being. And if we look carefully and deeply into issues of social and emotional well-being, many of those issues concern character development, having respect for one another, being civil to one another, being kind to one another, being compassionate. And those are attributes that our club and other Rotary clubs support. We do so many other things. I mean, our RILA program is a leadership program, our scholarships. I would encourage us as we think about future scholarship programs, looking for some of these youngsters, maybe who don't really rise to the top 10%, but yet because of their backgrounds and some of their challenges, they maintain high academic performance and they participated in extracurricular activities. So let's look more deeply. I would encourage us. I think we're doing a fantastic job with our Books to the Pearl Library. We know that youngsters reading at the third grade level, but by the time they're at the third grade, is a significant enhancement to their future development and learning ability. So there's all of these opportunities and certainly more. Supporting our Boys and Girls Club, supporting our independent school district, our trustees, our staff, our teachers. Adopt a school. Volunteer to tutor, mentor students. So many. We do reading buddies, reading with youngsters kindergarten through third grade. I could ramble on and on.
No, Ron, you were right on target. In fact, someone else Tom had also made that suggestion. He's been a mentor. He's a mentor for a 7-year-old boy at Pickett, and 1 hour a week. Just sign up to mentor, and they're greatly in need of both male and female mentors, but male mentors are tremendous in need. Karen had a quick question. What is being done to improve those transportation issues right now during this pandemic? How can we, there's something we can help, or I don't know that we can, but what is being done in that area?
Well, I don't know that we can help, but I know that the district is looking into this. I've been in contact with Elizabeth. I don't know if she's on the call today, but they are looking at, the school district is looking at how their buses can be used to maybe distribute meals. I know that is the plan today with delivery of the Backpack Buddies weekend meals, is that those are being delivered to areas where youngsters can pick those up rather than expecting the youngsters to come to a specific location.
Well, that's fantastic. I know in my neighborhood, I've seen a couple buses going around yesterday. I don't know if they were delivering meals, but it was around an hour.
Yeah, they actually started yesterday, and they'll continue. Of course, Backpack Buddies provides meals on the weekends for these youngsters.
Yes, that's fantastic. Any other questions? I don't see any others. If I've missed one, I apologize. Karen says, thank you so much. Is there a long-term solution in the area?
Well, hopefully we will discover some solutions. We need to figure out, how to get to those youngsters who can't get to those sites. And I'm confident that the district is working on that. The district leadership is working on that. And if they provide opportunities for us to get engaged, one of the things that we've also discovered, George, and we share with the board, is that many of the social service organizations in our community, like the Caring Place, Meals on Wheels, and Faith in Action, have really significantly reduced their operations because they depend on volunteers. And many of those volunteers are in the age category that make them vulnerable for this coronavirus disease. So in order to protect and safeguard those persons, these organizations have scaled back on their operations. But we're always thinking about how to service or to support those individuals who need it. One of the members of our church who is related to a nurse in one of our local hospitals said that they have a need for masks. And so we've mobilized some folks to create masks. There's a company, Joanne's Craft Shop, that provides kits and will deliver those kits with instructions on how to make masks. And so as we're at home looking for things to do, we have to be creative. I talked with a lady a few hours ago. She's been in contact with the hospitals in our area to see what their needs are. And so we want to be as supportive because our healthcare professionals are really on the front line. We are in a war, and there's no question about that. And the enemy is this pandemic coronavirus. And our healthcare professionals, nurses, doctors, hospital staff, you know, if they get sick, we learned in Boston over 150 of them or have contracted the disease already. And so it's going to spread. Again, I could go on and on.
Ron, you're as one of our key coordinators for our community involvement, and I appreciate your efforts in that area. You're well qualified and have doing a phenomenal job. Those who are able to, you mentioned the masks for the healthcare workers. Those who are able to or have the skills that may be able to help in that area, should they contact you? What should we do in that area?
Yes, they could contact me, and we will make sure that they get the information that they need. You have my email address. That's probably the best way to reach me, ronlswain48@gmail.com.
Excellent. So, Rob, if you can put that up on the screen for us, Ron L. Swain, the number 48@gmail.com. That's perfect. Thank you very, very much. Ron, you're a great inspiration. Anyone else who has questions can also contact Ron directly. And Ron will continue. Ron with Elizabeth and Henry and several other club members who I can't remember to mention the names of are working very, very hard to work and help plan how we can help and make a difference in the community. Lots of suggestions coming forward, and we're trying to work through that to make sure that we're very effective in all that we do. I want to thank everyone for being here. Thank everyone for being on this call. Let me see if I can't share our screen and go back to some slides here as we finish this up. Let's see what we've got here. Ron Swain. Okay, announcements for the good of Rotary. I don't know of any specific ones at this time. We will continue to do this. There's Ron Swain's information put up there. Thank you so much, Rob. Special thanks go out to Rob Hip. Rob has been a longtime member of this club. Had left for a period of time and came back. Felt that it was very difficult with his schedule to actually meet with us. And his schedule with this pandemic has changed, and it has allowed him to actually be here, making a difference in our lives and connecting with the YouTube, using his skills. And we thank him very much for making this work really, really well, because I can assure you by myself, it would have been a disaster. And quit smiling so much, Karen, because I know it's definitely true. Yeah, and then Dennis is over there smiling too. But so let's go ahead and finish our meeting as we always do with a 4-way test. In a moment, that may pop up on the screen if it works right. But you probably know it anyway. Well, the things we think, say, or do. First.
Is it the truth?
The truth.
Second.
Is it fair to all concerned?
Third.
Will it build goodwill and better
friendships?
And fourth.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
We are adjourned.